Welcome back, NoDQ Galaxy, to a brand new edition so soon of the NoDQ Review, number 270, impromptu on a Tuesday night, bumping the Royal Rumble predictions to, I believe, Thursday. Correct, Aaron?
Yep.
And why are we here? Because this morning, not only did WWE announce that they made a deal with Netflix for 2025 to move Monday Night Raw, and we don't even know if it'll be Monday Night Raw anymore, but it'll be Raw over to Netflix on a 10-year streaming deal. And from, I guess, North America looks like they're going to have Raw on Netflix, and then from what I've gathered, the rest of the world that currently still uses the WWE app might float to Netflix to get their WWE content. I don't know all the details, but that's kind of what it looks like. So we were slammed with that, and we were also slammed with one Dwayne Johnson getting put on the board of directors of TKO, the parent company of WWE and UFC Endeavor, and he is sitting at a table that Roman Reigns is not sitting at. And if you weren't sure that this match was going to happen, and we're going to talk about that in our main event, it's definitely going to happen. The question is when. So with me this evening, we have Big G in the house, happy to be here, and of course Aaron Rift. And if anybody join, message Aaron, right? If you want to jump in, if you've been on our panel before, we can maybe sneak you on here in the next 45 minutes. If not, the three-man wrecking crew will get it done. Big G, what's going on?
Nothing much. Been working a lot, doing schoolwork, watching wrestling. Done with football for the season, but here we are with some big news, and the Royal Rumble is this Saturday. I am pumped.
Yep. And again, stay tuned for predictions, everybody, because Aaron will be bringing those to you Thursday. What time?
8 o'clock Eastern.
8 o'clock. But we got other things to talk about before then. Aaron, what's going on? How has your day been with Vince McMahon shaved his mustache?
He did shave his mustache, and he's here. Better late than never. Rhonda Shane is in the house to fill out the panel
shave.
And we got Walter. So everybody just decided to show up late tonight. Anyways, before I get to you, Rhonda, let me just say it's been a hectic day for sure. I woke up this morning and we had the news that The Rock was being appointed to the TKO Board of Directors. And I thought, okay, this might be a pretty good news day. That's solid. Then like 20 minutes later, the news comes out about Netflix, WWE Raw moving to Netflix in 2025. And suddenly it became one of those days where I'm just on the computer all day. It's been very hectic, and we changed our plans. We were originally supposed to do predictions tonight for the Royal Rumble. That will be Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. But we had to do a review tonight to cover this news. And now I will get to these quick super chats real quick. Psycho Jet Black, he's happy. Big G's happy to be here. And Psycho Jet Black is happy with the Big G chant. Big G, Big G, Big G. Thank you for that. And also, he's like, virtue, 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 virtue. Maybe he could send a super chat for Walter and Rhonda Shane as well. We'll get a couple more super chats. Oh, wait, he sent in $2 and he said, Jarrett.
Where is my super chat chant? Where is mine?
I know you got to do that one, Psycho Jet Black. And Rhonda, in case you forgot, like why, and maybe people out there wondering why did he chant Jarrett? Well, that's because Jeff Jarrett was at AEW when Jeff Jarrett made his epic debut for the company. And we always tease Big G, but we love Big G. We're glad to have him on. And now I will throw it over to Rhonda. You're here. You made it after we started, but you are here. Better late than never. How's it going, man?
I'm good. I was just finishing up doing some quick grocery shopping, buying some food for my little friend over here.
All right.
And a little normal. And then I found out that the local grocery store owner got stabbed today, and then the other grocery store is closing. Let's just put it this way. It was a big day in the big city. I had lots of drama, but I managed to run home. I got the green peas on time, and I've got the cat food, so everything is good. And yes, I've been also processing all the news about The Rock. I've been processing the news about the WWE Network and Raw. And then we've got Okada on the slate. We've got all kinds of fun stuff. It's been a heck of a Tuesday. Feels like a Monday.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Monday was slow compared to today. Today was definitely the biggest news day, I think, since January 1st when The Rock showed up on Monday Night Raw. When The Rock shows up, things happen.
It looks like a lot of things are happening now that The Rock's showing up. He kind of, in a little way, not day to day, but he's now Triple H's boss.
That's crazy. I mean, they've been through so much over the years, from Rocky Maivia versus Hunter Hearst Helmsley to their feud during the Attitude Era, and then the WrestleMania 31 confrontation, which I was at for, and now they're working together in a corporate environment. Could you imagine that? Like back in 1997, could you imagine Rocky Maivia and Hunter Hearst Helmsley one day would be in suits running WWE in some capacity? That's crazy to think about.
Rock's a billionaire, independently wealthy enough to have a board seat, and he's appointed for his advisory capacities in entertainment as opposed to just wrestling. Yeah, it's wild. I'm just impressed that they were able to find suits that didn't start popping with their muscles.
Yeah, really. And we got some super chats here, but we'll get to those in a few moments here. Dave Scheffler, Building Nexus, and Hamp. We'll get to your super chats here in just a moment. Walter, welcome aboard. Thanks for jumping in with us. How are you doing, man? How are you reacting to all this?
I'm doing well. Yeah, technically I'm working. That's why I didn't originally wasn't going to be on the predictions, but it's a slower night. So that's the beauty of working from home. But yeah, one hell of a news. All this news just came out of nowhere. So it's good for your site, good for us as fans. So I'm ready to get into it. Yeah. Now there's no proverbial table, no metaphoric table. There's an actual table The Rock is the head of. So this is getting good.
All right, Virtue, let's get it moving.
So, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, I tweeted jokingly, what if Netflix purchased WWE? Now, of course, there was the merger with Endeavor, WWE merging, becoming TKO. So that happened. But a 10-year streaming deal, I mean, you might as well say that's temporarily purchasing WWE Raw, at least. So I was partially right. But the last year when we were talking about where these shows would go, we talked Amazon, Disney Plus. Netflix is a pretty big deal still, I guess. Just imagine people. I'm pretty sure most people have Netflix or know somebody. And I know it gets tricky because they're trying to weed out sharing accounts and stuff like that. But there's probably still going to be some fans that had cable or watched Raw another way that didn't have Netflix that will now have to subscribe to Netflix. This is a 10-year deal, $5 billion. So WWE is getting $500 million a year. Now, in North America, which Canada, US, it looks like that's where Raw is going to be, is on Netflix. The rest of the world, or most of the rest of the world that currently still uses WWE Network as the app, I think that it's going to be migrating over to Netflix. So that's a huge deal for Netflix globally. So when people are like, wow, $500 million a year for Raw, well, yeah and no. It's a worldwide deal, and I think it includes getting more people to Netflix that use the WWE app. That is crazy. Rhonda, I'm going to start with you on this. So let's break this down.
All right.
Peacock, NBC Universal. So they have obviously the US version of the WWE Network, right? That in Canada, I believe, right?
Yeah.
USA is going to have SmackDown coming up in 2024. When is that? Later this year, Aaron?
October.
Yeah, October.
Okay.
So we don't know what's going on with Raw after October, between October and January. I presume that USA will just renew, and then starting in January, it'll be on Netflix. And I did want to answer these super chats real quick, and then we'll get to Rhonda. Dave said, will PLEs be on Netflix or still be on Peacock? PLEs in the United States will will be on Peacock until their deal is up.
In
which I
Canada,
believe-
same with
Yeah.
Canada.
North America through 2026, and then it could all end up on Netflix. And I know they're doing they're going to be doing documentaries and a lot of specials exclusive for Netflix. So yeah, Netflix will have a lot of WWE content. And also, before we throw it over to Rhonda, Psycho Jet Black with a classic song from the Beach Boys. Help me, Rhonda. Help me get her out of my heart. That's a great song from the Beach Boys.
And that's a $5 one too. That's a biggie.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I should be singing it for the $5, but I ain't gonna do that.
That's my
Help
theme
me,
song.
Rhonda. Okay, that's enough of that.
Rhonda. I like that. So I used to have it as my what do you call it? As my alarm clock music on my Google Home.
Oh, nice.
It's a nice way to wake up in the morning. Yeah.
So, well, Rhonda, as I wanted to finish. So the big amount of money they're getting from NBC Universal for the Peacock deal here in North America. SmackDown, it's going to be moving over to USA Network. NXT to the WB. There's more money coming in for them. Or CW, yeah.
Whatever.
And then, yeah, it's NXT. And then now the Netflix deal globally. And then Saudi Arabia is still in play. Nick Khan, I mean, wow. Just wow. So here you go. Talk about Netflix.
The $1 billion man, Nick Khan. I mean, look, it's to be honest with you, it's not as rich of a deal as it looks like. When you see that $5 billion for 10 years, you got to keep in mind, what was it again? I believe between the Fox deal and the NBC deal, as well as the Peacock deal, which is also NBC, you were looking at about 250, 285 or something like that. Aaron, you might be able to correct me off the top of your head.
I mean, I'm not great at the math, but I know they're getting an increase.
Listen, basically at one point they'd been at about 450, 475 in streaming rights, plus the Peacock deal at 200, right? So the way I look at it is honestly, in exchange for USA, NBC having always been a nice partner of theirs, and having given them their boost, they said, hey, listen, we're not going to, before we give it all to Netflix, you have the right to take a slice here. And it seems that they said, give us SmackDown, because that seems to be the better performing show. And so if you look at it, NBC or USA Network really just slipped into the deal that Fox used to have. And Netflix has taken the deal that NBC used to have, where they've grabbed up Raw and they've got the network and all the PLEs coming through them. So, 500 million a year. We don't know the exact numbers here, but 500 million a year for something that they were getting about 250 plus 200 to 450 a year. Then you also have the SmackDown deal, which is a bit less than the deal that they'd had with Fox. You're looking at basically they've got the same amount of revenues, maybe a little bit more, maybe 50 million. So that's a Saudi show's worth. I mean, 50 million to you or I would be huge, but 10% extra juice on the deal, and they're locked in for 10 years. The real question is where do they find revenue growth after this? Now that they've locked in the streaming deal for 10 years, plus they've got they're going to have their renewal for SmackDown that'll come up in 3 years, where they decide if they want to continue doing business with television networks, and whether NBC decides if they really want to keep doing business with the WWE. Where do you find growth, though? It's going to be in the live events. It's going to be in the merch. And then I'll tell you the last part where you're going to find the revenue growth. And forgive me for taking a little bit of extra time, but this is a theory I've been talking about for ages. When I kind of predicted to my little group of fans that at one point I had enlisted Endeavor as a major potential acquisitor. And the reason I saw it was the vertical integration of UFC with WWE, creating an ability to patch up the big hole that UFC has in brand building. And that is that every time they build up a big star, they get knocked the fuck out. Just like not Ronda Rousey. Remember when she was talk of the town on Kimmel? She was on every show. She was a meme all over the world. Everyone knew who she was. She's hot and she will knock you out. And then she went up against Holly Holm. Done. Anderson Silva broke the leg. Brock Lesnar, diverticulitis, etc., etc., etc. All these guys that they built up. Chael Sonnen just had to retire. They've never been able to sustain somebody. So there's now a vertical integration of where do you get credible wrestlers from? Either you train them in NXT when nobody's ever seen them. Nobody's ever seen their botch reels. Nobody's ever seen them wrestle a blow-up doll. Nobody's ever seen them do goofy stuff. Or you get them from UFC where the guys can say, hey, listen, I know it's all fake, but if this guy was going to shoot, I know it'd be legit. Now, that's a great vertical integration, but here's the thing that just got solidified today. Who owns this whole thing? Ari Emanuel, the most powerful player in all of Hollywood, right? The most powerful agent. TKO is not just WWE and UFC, it's also WME, the William Morris Agency. So now what you've got is a partnership with Netflix where they've got a line to WME talent. All the WWE and UFC talent can become WME talent. And guess who's on the board of directors to sit in meetings with all these pitches when they're going to producers and studios to talk about producing these movies, when they want to say produce a Roman Reigns movie or a Cody Rhodes movie? Guess what? The Rock, the highest paid actor in Hollywood, is sitting there with Ari Emanuel, the most famous agent in all of Hollywood. And then if they really want to, they can bring in John Cena, the third highest paid male lead in Hollywood. And they can even bring Hulk Hogan in. And that's why, remember we were talking a few weeks ago about how Roman Reigns versus The Rock, how The Rock wants to do something that's bigger than life and all this stuff. And how I said this is this is the next Hollywood championship movie. Basically, there's a title that's not listed that exists, and that is the real WWE champion is the guy that becomes the WWE champion and surpasses the WWE and ends up becoming a huge Hollywood celebrity. Your first one was probably Hulk Hogan versus Andre, when Andre passed the torch to Hogan, and then Hogan went big with Hollywood. Tried to, anyways. Then a decade later, The Rock happened. You had Hogan versus The Rock, and then you also had The Rock and Austin, because Austin also thought he was going off to Hollywood too. Now, there's something bad that happened to Austin that won't happen anymore, and I'll touch on that in half a second before I give it to you guys. Basically, Stone Cold didn't really pan out in Hollywood. Why? Didn't have a good agent, didn't have good guidance like The Rock did. And there's one other piece that was missing with The Rock, with Hogan, with Austin, and even with John Cena, because John Cena is a CAA talent, not a WME talent. Guess what never happened when any of these guys got famous? Vince never got his 10%. And now that everything's vertically integrated in, and Ari Emanuel is going to be their agent with WME, guess what? They're all going to get 10% of whatever Roman does, whatever Cody does. The whole thing has been vertically integrated. They've got a star creation system that links them directly from UFC and NXT all the way to the top echelons of Hollywood. And guess what? Who are the highest paid actors in Hollywood? All the guys in the MCU, all the guys in the action movies. These are all the top male leads because they look extraordinary. They do extraordinary things. They're real life superheroes. They're on-screen superheroes. And they've created a superhero factory. I'm done.
Yeah, there you have it from Ron DeShane. You know, this is the one thing based on when you were saying all their revenue income coming up with all the different streaming and network deals that they have. So when they went from WWE Network to Peacock, I think they made out on it, because if you took all their paid subscriptions versus what they're making from Peacock, that was a huge gain for WWE. So you got to remember, part of that $500 million a year deal with Netflix, I think that difference, if you count Raw in the States, is about 250 million of that. I think they're making out on the upgrading the network to Netflix. They're not going to have all that income anymore because the app's probably going to end up being abandoned. I'm sure some countries might still have to have it. Yeah, I think they're going to make out on getting that extra money from That's where the big plus is. I know you said 10%. It might be a little bit higher than that globally, but still they're going to be making more money. And look, Nick Khan, I don't doubt him finding other ways to make money. I mean, yes, maybe this is a great opportunity to finally increase the indoor or the live attendance and merch, which, you can say those weren't what they used to be in terms of, because look at the house shows they used to do back in the Attitude Era. They would sell out 15,000 seat arenas for a house show. I'm not saying they're ever going to get back to that, but that they can focus on. But Nick Khan, never count him out. I think he'll find a way. All right, Big G.
Yeah.
Follow that.
I know, right? So, so Raw on Netflix is going to be interesting. I don't know what else to really say that Ronda didn't say. I mean,
I told you guys I had something to say about
Big
it.
G, I'll hand you something.
Telling the truth out there.
I will hand you something. What about people that relied on watching Raw because they already paid for cable? For the people that didn't have Netflix, because how some people are, I'm not watching anything Netflix, I'll cut it out of my life.
Right.
$7 is the cheapest Netflix package with commercials, and then it's $15.50. There are some people out there that are going to have to pay for Monday Night Raw. And I tweeted, hey, hopefully you can find some other great shows on Netflix to get your money's worth for paying for Raw now, starting in 2025. Maybe talk about that. Right. Would you, I know you have all of those streaming services, but if you didn't have Netflix, would you subscribe to it in 2025 for Monday Night Raw?
If I didn't have Netflix, then yes. So right now I looked at the numbers. This was from the third quarter of 2023. They had Netflix has 247.2 million paid subscribers worldwide. Just since Netflix has been started the streaming service. But I feel like now that Raw is going to Netflix, I feel like people who don't have Netflix, who have been watching Raw on the USA Network for the past 30 plus years, that they will subscribe. They've been fans of Raw. They're going to follow wherever the brand goes. Yeah. Just like, we had the WWE app back in 2014, and now everything's on Peacock for us and here in North America. And, now, over in Europe and the other countries, Netflix is going to be the mainstream for WWE coming 2025 for their PLEs and stuff like that. And, Netflix is great. I mean, they have great television shows, great documentaries, and with WWE having documentaries over there, that'll be interesting. That'll bring people who don't watch wrestling. They're like, oh, here's this great documentary about Andre the Giant or Hulk Hogan or whoever, and they were fans back of wrestling. Oh, well, Raw's on Netflix now. Maybe I'll check it out. Bring back the casuals that WWE has lost over the years.
Yeah. Let me add to that, Big G. I did want to comment and just add to what you said. First of all, there was a super chat here. Let me see where it is. Hamp Connell sent in $5. He said, and thank you, Hamp. He says, the biggest questions on my mind are how many WWE fans aren't already subscribed to Netflix, and it is enough to cover $5 billion. So that's a great question. Rhonda, what did you want to add to that?
I was thinking about it earlier today. I'd say, look, you got 247 million subscribed globally. There's 8 billion people, right? But that's probably not a fair number because most of the audience is probably still in the United States. But if you said that, out of those 7 million subscribers, let's say half of them are in the United States. That's 150 million in the US. There's 350 million people in the US. You might look at half of the audience of Raw, which is 1.5, 1.6, might not have a Netflix account. So you might be looking at 33% of that audience. That'd be 500,000 people. 500,000 times 15, that'd be 7.5 million a month. You'd be looking at about 80, 90 million. They might be able to make $100 million a year just on that, out of the 500 million they're paying just on getting WWE subscribers. But there's one other thing, and I want to tee G off on this because I think that it would be an interesting question for him to expound upon. This is also going to be the launch of Netflix's first live streaming venture, other than one or two NFL games. This is now Netflix demonstrating that they're able to deliver live to a large enough audience. Like, what we don't know. What is it? Is it really 1.5 million? Is it actually 2? Or there was stuff that wasn't being counted with Nielsen? We don't know. Only Netflix will know. But now Netflix is going to be launching live streaming. So that's going to be something that they can demonstrate to other players in the market, other sports franchises, and all of that.
Right.
So I think that's
well. If you like, I know Max is starting to. They've been doing beta on like live basketball games. They've been doing live streaming over on Max, live streaming on Peacock. Like you can watch the news on Peacock and stuff like that. That is live. Paramount Plus is doing live. So I mean, live content has been on streaming for quite a while now, and I think Netflix is like, okay, well, here's our chance with this billion-dollar company to like prove, okay, and Netflix has been around longer than any of these streaming services. Let's be real here. Netflix was around back in starting in the early 2000s with DVDs.
Yeah.
So, and Netflix was the first brand to start the streaming services. So, and like somebody said they disagreed with me. It's not gonna turn them away because they don't want to pay. Netflix is a lot cheaper than cable. People are gonna start canceling their cable subscriptions to go on Netflix. Like Virtue said, the cheapest plan for Netflix is $6.99 a month, and the highest I believe is $15.99 a month.
And Big G, you get the ads on the 7. So there's still going to be advertisements, advertisers that like to have their product pinned to WWE because of the demographics that might not be advertising on Netflix right now. Right. And guess what? They'll go, and that's how Netflix makes more money. And then for people that don't want ads, they will upgrade to the $15, the $22 premium one. Yeah. And that's how.
And I was in one of the chats, somebody was saying, he didn't say it in a bad way, but it's like weird. But like, it's the era of streaming services. Cable is a dying breed. Let's be real here, people. Cable is dying. Everything else is on streaming nowadays. I mean, I think I have YouTube TV. Once Netflix gets Raw, I might cancel YouTube TV because eventually AEW is going to go to Max. And you won't need cable anymore. Why? I mean, people pay $100, $200 for 125 channels who just watch wrestling. Why are you going to pay all that money when you can go now to Netflix and pay $6.99 to watch Monday Night Raw? And me and Aaron were talking about this before we went on air. Raw can potentially go back to 2 hours on Netflix, and it could go back to TV 14. Because Netflix, is a streaming service. They have nothing to do with cable and stuff like that. So I feel
maybe because advertisers still expect something from WWE.
Right.
Hold on real quick. Yes, Rhonda.
I got a fun question for everyone because that's very topical to what we're discussing. So a few months ago, I went to SmackDown. I had Edge's last match in Toronto. Had the worst experience of my life at a live event as I sat through 2 hours where we got about 10 minutes of wrestling matches across 2 hours. And in between each match, we had to wait for 20 minutes for video packages and while guys sat in the ring and played ads. Guess what? What can they really offer a Monday Night Raw product without ads? Will they offer that without ads? Can they offer two at the same time? Because guess what? If they have advertisements for some, what are the premium subscribers going to be watching?
Rest holds.
Rest hold. Forget that. Have you not seen Aaron? Have you not seen did you not see Randy Orton waiting for 5 minutes?
Yeah.
In the ring with Roman.
They're gonna have to change that. I think
Are
they're
we
going to
going
have
to watch that, or are they going to change that? Because they're going to be doing that for SmackDown. So are they going to have a whole different production standard for Raw?
They might have to.
I
Yeah,
think
they're
they
gonna
might
have
have to
to.
create a tier where they just say, you know what, this is a premium product and everyone has to watch ads during it because it's a live broadcast and this is how it's done.
Well, didn't they put out saying Netflix won't have or Raw won't have ads?
Not
Just
yet,
not-
no.
No.
Well, I read something about that they were probably going to do that, but we'll
Yeah.
see. I mean, they might have to change the format of their shows a little bit to fill out that time better. I mean, obviously they're not going to do anything too significant during the ad breaks, but that's stuff where the guy's just standing there in the ring. That's not going to cut it.
It'd just be terrible if fans didn't have to sit through 4.5 minutes of listening to some other song playing while like literally when you're in the arena. The guy walks down to the ring, his entrance music plays, then it cuts. They cut over to dance music or some like 90s pop or whatever. Then it plays for 4 minutes, and then just as the TV break comes back on, they play his song again, and he pretends that he's been sitting there getting pumped up the whole time. It would be a tragedy if fans didn't have to sit through that crap.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, man. I hope they come up with something. And Matt sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you, Matt. He says Walter Gable commercial breaks will be fire. There you go. Like, some of those guys it'll help because there are times we see these matches and we're like, man, like these matches would have been better if there were no commercial breaks. So that could be beneficial. Maybe some diehard wrestling fans will be like, I want to see the whole match, and if I pay the premium price, I'll get to see the whole match and not have the annoying breaks. So it may work out to WWE's benefit. But yeah, like you said, the stuff with Orton, that kind of thing where they're standing in the ring, they're going to have to make some changes with that.
Maybe
Big
we'll
G.
see. I was going to say,
Big
maybe
G, you want to add in?
matches.
Yes, Rhonda.
Sorry,
ahead.
I was going to say maybe more sponsored matches. That's all I meant.
Anything else you want to add, Big G?
Not really, no. I mean, like going back to what Rhonda just said about they would have like the DX dance break or the DX camera and all that stuff. It's crazy. So they are gonna have to change if it does go ad free for like the premium subscribers of Netflix. They are gonna have to change up their content a little bit. They're gonna have to, all right, well, we can't have the wrestles anymore. We're gonna have to wrestle through this. So, but yeah, that's all I have to say on this. Okay. Hopefully it works out for Netflix.
Now, before we get to Walter, I know Walter's really waiting to get his 2 cents in. I did want to get a couple of these super chats out. Matt has a little funny bit here. AEW now streaming on Tubi. Is it Tubi or Tubby?
Yeah, it's Tubi.
Tubi, and that's like, what is that? One of those free?
Yeah, it's one of those free where they play movies and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, though, this is actually very good news for AEW because it makes it likely now that they will get the Warner Brothers Discovery renewal, and maybe they'll end up on Max. There was a rumor going around that maybe it'll be a hybrid where Dynamite will be on both cable and the Max streaming service as like a simulcast. So, that could be beneficial to AEW. And Matt sent in another $2 super chat. He said, so AEW won the ratings war because Raw is getting booted off Monday nights on cable. But yeah, it's going to be interesting with this change, and it's going to be something to keep an eye out on. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. And Big G, maybe you could get your thoughts on this, but maybe Walter can go first here. Psycho Jet Black said, will Netflix make Raw 2 hours or move air dates? Now, Nick Khan was interviewed on the Pat McAfee show, and he said that as of now, they're still going to be on Monday nights. But, that could always change. Big G, we were talking about this before we went on live. Unlikely, I think, that Raw goes back to 2 hours because of the advertising money.
Right.
We'd all like to see Raw go back to being a 2 hour show. Even Triple H said when he was interviewed by Steve Austin years ago, Triple H was like, yeah, a 3 hour show is a lot more difficult to produce than a 2 hour show. But I don't think that's going to happen. Walter, I'll throw it over to you now. And, get your thoughts on all this and what your take is and what you think is going to happen next.
Well, the funny thing is they keep showing Raw without the Monday. It just keeps saying Raw on Netflix, Raw on Netflix. So that's what's speculating and everything. And but yeah, this is a big deal. We thought cable's pretty much dead. Like in like a good 5-10 years, cable's no longer probably gonna exist. So for this to go here, we knew, all of us speculated that stuff was gonna go to streaming. We just didn't exactly know it would be Netflix or things. So this is a big deal for WWE, and I mean we'll see what happens, but it is exciting. I don't know about switching the nights though, and in terms of the 2-hour thing, if you do subscribe to Netflix Premium and there's no commercial, well, that's gonna shave like maybe a whole hour of it. Because you think about it, there's like what, 5 minutes worth of commercial every time they go on break. You subtract that part just that part out of it, you're already down. You probably will get it to 2 hours or maybe 2.5 hours. So we'll see what we're doing, because I don't know. Netflix doesn't really have commercials like that when you subscribe to the premium. So I don't know where that ad revenue would go or how they would structure it.
Well, the $7 plan would have the commercials, and then the premium plans, WWE would have to, during the times of commercials played on the cheaper, they would have to have like Michael Cole talking or backstage things set up so the premium subscribers see some different content, and that could drive people from the ads, which is what Netflix would want, to the premium tiers. They can get creative with that, and that they're going to figure something out.
Yeah. Big G.
So, real quick. So I'm looking at Netflix right now. Standard with the ads is $6.99 a month. Standard 15 is $15.49 a month. And then premium right now is $22.99 a month. So, yeah.
What's the difference from the 15 to the 22? What do you get? No ads at all?
I'm looking.
Like, I don't get it. $7 more for what? Or
can
they share that one?
You can share the same amount.
It says extra slots, extra member slots can be added for $7.99 a month for standard, and then the same price, $7.99 a month, an extra member slots can be added.
FYI, they're cracking down on people sharing passwords.
Yeah, so that's why they're saying you pay $7.99 to have another member on there. But I don't see a difference between standard and premium.
Yeah, I had to let the guy that shares my Netflix password with me move.
Oh, here we go. Okay, so standard you can watch on 2 supported devices. In premium, you can watch on 4 supported devices, Ultra HD. You can download more on 6 devices and stuff like that. So there is a difference between the standard and.
Well, thank you from the news center there, Big G. With the stats. Walter, back to you. Finish up and whenever you're done, pass it to Aaron.
Yeah. The most interesting thing is, like, does this open the door for other companies to now move theirs to competitive streaming services?
Yeah.
Just so we can get a different type of war. So, like, that's the most interesting thing. But we'll see what happens. And you can go ahead, Aaron, because these two went on for a while. I don't want to add it up. I don't mean that in a bad way, but
sorry, I'll come to you first. I'll come to you first when we talk about The Rock.
Yeah. Now, Psycho Jet Black sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Psycho. He says, seriously, imagine being a WWE fan in 2015 during one of its worst years to looking where they are in 2024. Happy that the business is thriving. Well said, Psycho Jet Black. WWE is definitely going to benefit from this, and they're secure with Monday Night Raw for at least 5 years. Now, here's the deal: it's a 10-year relationship on paper, but as Psycho Jet Black pointed out, Netflix can cancel. They can opt out after 5 years. Now, it's hard to say where things are going to be in 5 years. I mean, technology is always changing. You never know what's going to happen, if Netflix will be satisfied or will they have buyer's remorse. That remains to be seen. Or on the flip side, they could extend it another 10 years. So they could theoretically have a 20-year deal with WWE. One way or another, 5 years by itself is a big commitment for Netflix. So, Walter, you wanted to say something?
Didn't Vince offer like Bret Hart like a 10-year contract and had to renege on it after? Isn't that what
After
happened?
like 1 year, he wanted out of it. He had buyer's remorse. Yeah, that's a whole other story. But
I think taking a major television show, I know we like to rag on wrestling for not having as big ratings as it has in the past, but at the same time, everything on cable doesn't have the same ratings as it has. I think taking a tentpole show out of the cable television business is part of a long-term strategy for Netflix to do this to other series and shows as well. As they've, if you look at the Emmys right now, I think this year it was something like 45%, something like that, of the shows that were nominated at the Emmys were streaming, when streaming used to be its own category about 5-10 years ago. And now literally half of the shows on the Emmys are not distributed on television. So I think plucking a live broadcast from television is definitely part of it. And I think this is a demonstration to the major sports leagues like the NFL, NBA, NHL, and all that they're capable of doing it. You do it on a weekly basis with something that's a little more low stakes, like pro wrestling, where, you won't have every gambler in all of the United States and probably around the world flipping out if the feed cuts out once or twice. Demonstrate that you can do this 52 weeks a year to an audience of 2.5 million, and then or 2 million, whatever it is. And then you'll probably be able to start taking on NHL, minor NBA games, and then eventually get to the NFL stuff where you're taking on 30, 40, 50 million viewers at a time, right?
Rhonda, I think wrestling fans do flip out when the feed's messed up, though. I see it all the time on social media when something happens during a PLE.
Only 2 million of us nerds. I mean, yeah, it's like it's different. It's not as bad, and we also don't have money on it, right? Yeah. Vince would like to change that too, but
wasn't that an issue with Peacock? Didn't it like go black a lot, like during certain PLEs on Peacock?
Yes, yeah. There's always been problems with this stuff. They've obviously invested a lot of money if they're confident in serving a weekly live program to people, as well as the PLEs. Like, obviously, if they're going to be doing, what is that, to 3 times 50, so that's 150 hours of live broadcast plus the PLEs, so that's another 12 times 3, so that's another 36. And they're doing 185 hours of broadcast live to audiences ranging from 1.5 million up to, they claim some really huge numbers for these PLEs. So obviously they're going to be, we see you, Tito, we see you. But obviously this is a way for them to demonstrate to other live platforms, live streamers, that they are able to offer a platform that they can deliver on and not have these problems anymore, which has been the NFL's biggest fear.
Aaron doesn't know anything about the NFL. Aaron, what else you want to say about this? Catch up on the super chats. We got to talk about Dwayne Johnson.
Right. So what Big G mentioned earlier about Netflix and, people being subscribed to it. And there was that question about Netflix, like how many people subscribe to Netflix that are also WWE fans. I do think it will be beneficial to both. I think that WWE will have some new viewers, and they may lose some, although it's funny. I see people on social media saying, I'm not going to be watching Raw in 2025. This is it for me. I don't buy that. Liars. They will get a Netflix account, or they'll find a way to watch it on Netflix. And I think that, it might open up the door for some new people to watch. I think internationally, this is a big deal for WWE. And I think in the end, WWE is definitely going to benefit for this with Netflix. We'll see how it goes with them. They're venturing into the world of live weekly programming, and WWE produces it every single week, every year. It's guaranteed content for them, fresh live content, and WWE's on a roll right now as far as the creative end of it. They're getting a good product. So I think it will be beneficial to both sides and could potentially be a game changer in the future for what happens with other forms of entertainment on streaming services. Now, we do have a few super chats here. Mr. Tito said, Nick Khan for life. I mean, absolutely. Nick Khan is definitely one of the best pickups for WWE in recent years. Like he has done so much from a business perspective. The guy is great. Like he's really an asset to the company. And stocks, I noticed the stocks are already starting to go up, Virtue, coming off of this news. Yeah.
You know what's interesting, Aaron, with Nick Khan? Because he started with an agency company where he was more of an agent. Back early on when Shane was still in WWE, he made a couple TV deals with Mexico. If you go back and look at Shane's resume when he was working in the office of WWE, he did a few things like that. But yet, then he left the company, tried other things outside, came back to perform. And Nick Khan has really ended up taking Shane McMahon's legacy, what I thought he was going to be, to WWE, which never panned out for whatever reasons. Nick Khan is kind of that guy now. That's just so strange. I would have never thought somebody else would come in, not name McMahon like that, and really take over the company, growing it. Just had to mention that because Shane did a little deals early on, but again, then he left.
Keep in mind, Shane pretty much got fired for proposing to his dad to buy the UFC, and Vince told him he was out of his rocker. And
I just want to give Shane a little bit of credit. Failure outside of WWE or not, he had a vision of this kind of.
His vision involved them owning the UFC, and you got to think about it this way: either that could have been the greatest move ever, or that could have cost Vince $5 billion if UFC had never been out there to be such a strong acquisition for TKO and to create this, deal where they got $9 billion bucks or a $9 billion valuation, 4.5 in cash and all this stuff. It's interesting to think if Shane had convinced his dad to buy the UFC, would they have ruined it, or would they have grown it into something fantastic and been worth $10 billion now by themselves, own the whole thing, and not even have to deal with Ari Emanuel? Shane had the blueprint and he got fired for it because he came at it a little too early. And his dad said, "I don't know, this stuff looks hinky. I don't care for it."
Yeah, I mean, Shane, sometimes in business, the legends are the ones that get shot down early and don't have that notoriety. So I just wanted to mention Shane was very early on some of this type of thought process. And kudos to Shane McMahon. All right, Aaron, anything else?
Hamp Connell sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. Says Netflix will also raise prices, which will tick off non-wrestling fans, causing those people to unsubscribe. I think they will opt out after 5 years. So there's your bold prediction from Hamp.
They've been increasing the prices slowly the last few years anyways.
Yeah, they have.
It used to be $9.99.
Yeah, and they've been
Netflix
jacking up the prices.
Smart. Netflix is too smart for that. If that was going to be the case, they would do a bundle where wrestling fans could buy a certain package, but that non-wrestling fans wouldn't have to. They would figure something out so they don't abandon their non-wrestling. Yeah.
I'll point out that Hamp paid almost as much as a monthly Netflix subscription to say that on air.
Well, there you go. Hamp hasn't been the biggest supporter of WWE, but we appreciate Hamp and Virtue. I got a couple super chats about The Rock, but we'll get to those in just a few minutes. So as far as Building Nexus, Matt, your super chats, we'll get to those in just a few moments here. Virtue?
So let's talk about Dwayne Johnson, who now is part of the committee. What do they call it? The board of directors for TKO. And he also has the full rights to The Rock, right? WWE still had some of that. Now he owns it. And let's talk about Dwayne Johnson, right? Bought the XFL. Nothing really happened with it. Merged it with the USFL or something like that, and
Yeah.
trying to build a springtime football for football fans to have a little bit of something after the NFL season. Whether it's successful or not, trying something. His Hollywood career, great movies, bad movies. Biggest box office star, had some falling outs with some studio, and his show canceled on NBC, but yet a businessman always comes back. He went back to his roots. A couple WWE appearances later, he is now board of directors for TKO, the parent company that owns WWE. And this is legit at the table. The Roman stuff happened for a reason. I don't know if he knew this was going to happen that night, probably. But Walter, I don't think we're just going to have a Roman and Rock match now. We could have a trilogy, like spread up. Granted, will this pull Rock away from Hollywood a little bit, where he would still do stuff, but not as frequently, right? Arnold Schwarzenegger left for quite some time to be in politics, then went back. Rock might want to refresh himself in Hollywood, focus on this for 5 years, then go back, right? Going back is always a big deal. Look what we're talking about wrestling. Talk about The Rock. This is big news. We're at least definitely getting our tribal chief head of the table match at some point. Will it be this WrestleMania or will it be next WrestleMania? But go ahead.
I thought it was in Australia.
Some people wish that.
The Rock.
Remember, I was not one of those.
The Rock is one hell of a businessman, and you know what he did? He cleared his table where he doesn't have to work in Hollywood for a little bit if he doesn't want to, because now his name is in this. He's going to be making that much money where he can free himself up to do one little last trilogy, one little last run, and then ride off into the Hall of Fame and then be done with WWE, except special appearances as all Hall of Famers do. This might be his little plan all along. And if we're ever going to get The Rock versus Roman, ever, this is it right here. This is the closest we have been. We talked about it for the last 2 years, but this is literally the closest we have been. And for him to go literally be ahead of a table is just beyond intelligent for him.
Well, he's not the head of it, but he's at it. So
he has a seat at it. Yeah.
Yes.
If you don't think that's going to be part of some future promo, you're crazy. That's going to be part of some kind of promo coming up. It's some kind of table mentioning.
Ari is always the head of the table, and Vince is sitting right next to him. Don't forget that Vince is still the chairman of this entire organization.
Mustache or no mustache, he's still around.
Hey, listen, it's working for me, right?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Good job. So, Walter, is this WrestleMania? Because they have to be careful because of the Cody Rhodes stuff, which can be delayed. But now with The Rock being part of this company, they could wait another year, let this play out with Cody and still do this head of the table match. So they do have time. But what do you think?
They do have time, but look at Seth and his injury. You don't want to wait too long because people aren't getting any younger. You don't age in reverse. You age up. So you don't want to risk that. Like look at Punk. He took all them years off, came back, started getting hurt again. So Rock is, in his mid 50s or early 50s. So I don't know if you want to keep continuing to do that because you just never know what happens. So the earlier to get it, the better. But you can stretch it out. But you could do it all this year if you want. You can have a WrestleMania match, then do SummerSlam, and then do another of the big ones. So you can do it, or the beginning of 2025, however you want to do it. But 2025, he's going to be all over it. If you don't think he's going to be there promoting this Netflix deal and having T-shirts and saying all these commercials, Rock is going to make this a big deal. So we're going to see The Rock on WWE television a hell of a lot more. And not only that, but with this WWE thing, you don't think that his movies are now going to be all over Netflix and all WWE studio movies, all that can be part of Netflix. We don't know what's going to happen. We could have all that. Maybe not the Fast franchise because of, other things that have to be involved in other studios, but all his other movies can be involved.
Someone's mentioning Cody's on the cover of WWE 2K24. Roman was on it once. I know he was on the Battlegrounds cover as a caricature, but he was on it with Becky. You tell me if this game continues, WWE 2K25 doesn't have Roman and The Rock on it. I mean, come on. They're going there, man. They're going there. It's going to be a big deal. And someone in the chat said WWE needs The Rock. He doesn't need them. No, they need each other. I mean, The Rock he had a rough year last year or two in Hollywood, based on some of the stuff that he got, shows canceled, kicked out of a studio because his movie did poorly. Like that can actors fade off in the distance quicker than you think when stuff like that happens. And The Rock was right on it to make sure he stayed relevant.
Yeah, and to bounce off what you just said, 2K25, WWE 25 will probably have a tribal chief mode. By the time that comes in, it'll be all about The Rock and Roman. So they're not, if you don't think they'll put them on the cover eventually, you're crazy. Of course they'll take advantage of that.
All right, well, thank you, Walter. Raise your hand if you have something else. Big G, you haven't said anything for a while. You're the one that has always doubted this Rock and Roman thing, and then it never happened in Hollywood, and you're just like, yeah, I told you so. I'm going to have a virtue moment, and here we are. The promo Rock said on January 1, and then now this.
Yeah.
You said off camera, you said 95% you feel this match will happen at some point. That means it's going to happen. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So The Rock being on the board of directors of TKO is big news for him and the WWE. And like you said, he owns the rights to The Rock now, so he can go back to using Dwayne The Rock Johnson if he wants to. But yeah, he's been successful in Hollywood. I think he really hasn't done anything in the past couple of years, I believe, since like Black Adam. And that was the whole falling out with him and Warner Brothers, I believe. And then, Young Rock had its 3 seasons, got canceled by NBC. That was that could have just been like a Peacock exclusive that could keep on going with Young Rock, but I don't know. Anyways, with Rock and Roman, we didn't get it last year, and Rock hinted at it a little bit at day one, saying, could he be the head of, could he be at the head of the table? And WrestleMania's in Philly, and you talked about it. We talked about it before. This backtracks all the way back to WrestleMania in Philly when Rock raised
Royal Rumble 2015.
Yeah, thank you, Royal Rumble 2015, where The Rock raised Roman's hands and they still booed Roman. So they could play on that, and they can play on the whole head of the table thing now. Saying, Roman's like, yeah, I'm the head of the table for the family. Well, Rock could say, no, I'm the head of the table of the family now because I'm literally in the board of directors, And they could do it at WrestleMania here in Philly in April, or they could play it out like they did John Cena and The Rock, and have that year-long feud and then have it at WrestleMania 41, which I believe it might be in Minnesota. Yeah. I'm not too sure if that's 100% sure yet. But yeah, good for The Rock. The man's a freaking genius. He knows his business. I mean, he's got so much stuff out there. He's got his energy drinks and his tequila. He's making that money, the XFL or USFL or whatever the UFL now that is called with his ex-wife. So he's just making bank, and I don't know if they would do a trilogy, but I mean maybe 1 or 2 matches the most, like
I wish one was I wish they would do an event in Hawaii. That would be a great setting. An outdoor event in Hawaii. That would be that would be good.
Well, actually, Samoa.
Well, Hawaii's got the popularity.
Yeah. But yeah, good for The Rock. Good on him. He knows what he's doing.
Aaron, did you have your hand raised before I?
Yeah, I was gonna say something, but I'll let Rhonda get his thoughts in, and then I'll give my opinion on all this and what I think is gonna happen here. Go ahead, Rhonda.
I mean, look, I already said a lot of what I had to say at the very start about where things are going to go business-wise, the vertical integration to Hollywood. Rock is going to become more of a Hollywood agent for the next few years. And him and Ari are going to be power brokers in Hollywood and trying to establish this line, especially of action movie heroes, that they can basically produce action movie heroes. Look, I mean, they never got a cut out of Dave Bautista. They never got a cut out of John Cena. They never got a cut out of The Rock. They just gave The Rock his payout for being on the board of directors, which is being able to use his damn name, The Rock. And that's, and nobody will get that deal again. But on the business side, that's why it's hugely important. On the wrestling side, I can't, Aaron, I can't lose my spot on this this podcast by being wrong about a prediction, can I?
No.
All right. I'll tell you what then. I'm gonna be bold. I'm gonna tell you this. I think The Rock faces Roman this year. I think that what'll happen by the end of the match, I think that The Rock will be your champion. I think that Cody and The Rock will be seen a lot together for the next year. I think that Cody will get introduced all around Hollywood as well as Roman. And regardless of whether Hollywood wants to pick any of their movies up, Netflix will buy it. Netflix will make it happen. And I think that you'll see the start of the Star Machine becoming with Roman getting his shot in Hollywood on Netflix movies. And I think you'll see Cody becoming the next champion to be getting introduced around by The Rock, because what's going to happen is you're going to see the WWE champion is now going to be more of a 1, 2, 3 year gig rather than a 3, 4, 6 month hot potato. Being the WWE champion is not what's going to be interesting. Being the Hollywood champion is what's going to be interesting. And they're going to try to pass this crown on more frequently. Instead of once a decade, maybe once every 5 years, they create a new generational star that gets over to Hollywood. So I think what you're going to see is Cody. Listen, the tattoo, they can afford makeup in Hollywood. They can hide it. Even the stupid little scar above his eyes. I think Cody will stop doing stupid things like burning himself, scarring his face, and tattooing himself to get over anymore. But I think what you'll see is The Rock and Cody being a bit of a team together. And then I think that eventually it will break when Cody needs to finish the story. And next year, you might see The Rock and Cody at WrestleMania. And then Cody gets his big win over the biggest wrestling name, the biggest Hollywood actor of all time, and gets his moment to get the torch passed to him.
Now, Rhonda, I don't think Roman's going to break in Hollywood like Cena or The Rock, but I think that he can do some roles and be a villain. I think he could definitely be a bad guy in movies where you don't have to be the main character. But again, people, look where Cena's at.
He can take Jason Momoa's
that's just what I think. Yeah.
He'll take Jason Momoa's spot in a lot of ways, because Momoa's 55, 53, something like that. I mean, guy has been huge. But here's the thing is these larger than life action heroes, these larger than life people who that knows how to act is and spends their life in Hollywood gets this jacked. This is the only place where people are being encouraged, helped, medicated to get these bodies and become these larger than life action figures. So why is Dave Bautista so good in these
Oh roles? Yeah, him too. I forgot about him. But yeah, he's kind of always like a supporting guy, right? They don't all become a headliner.
No, and Roman might not be a headliner, but Dave Bautista makes some great coin doing it. And here's the thing is, like I said before, they could also say, hey, listen, not only do we have Roman or Cody doing this role, but we got a guest spot, a cameo from John Cena. We can pull Hulk Hogan in. We can pull The Rock in. We can pull a bunch of these guys in and get them to do it as a favor.
Good points. Someone in the chat wasn't quite following you about the whole Hollywood thing, and that's probably because their minds everything has to be in the wrestling bubble. You went out of that a little bit and it confused them. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. But not you, but the person in the chat. I understood it. All right, Aaron, go ahead.
All right. So Building Nexus had mentioned this earlier. I'll read off his super chat, and Rhonda was talking about this here. Maybe save Rock and Roman Reigns for 2025 because of Netflix. That could certainly be a way that they go with this. Now, what's very interesting to me is what The Rock said today. He said during an interview on ESPN, he said, quote, "I'm a long gamer and I like to build." That implies to me that they're going to wait on this. And also Cody Rhodes did an interview and basically said that if he doesn't leave WrestleMania as the Universal Champion, it's a failure. The year is a failure for him. Like, for him to say that publicly and then The Rock saying what he said, I feel like Cody has to finish the story this year. I know people are like, well, it could be finished anytime, but I think you got to wrap this up first and then turn your attention to The Rock and Roman Reigns. So maybe we have a scenario where Cody gets the WrestleMania match and then you have the Bloodline interfering like they always do. Rock comes out at the end to even the odds. Yeah. Cody wins the title, and that sets up WrestleMania 41. The Rock did say, The Rock made it clear that if it's him and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, it is going to possibly be the biggest WrestleMania of all time. And it sounds to me like he wants to build to that. I don't think it's going to happen at Elimination Chamber now, especially, I mean, we're talking about that before, but this sounds like it's going to be a WrestleMania match. Now, of course, the downside is Rock is getting older, but with a good 6 months of training, if Steve Austin can pull off a match with Kevin Owens, certainly The Rock can pull off a match with Roman Reigns. I don't think it's going to be a trilogy. It would be great, but I think they're going to do it at WrestleMania. But I'm wondering if they're going to hold off one more year, do it at 41, and that's when they'll battle over who the true head of the table is. And Matt sent in a $2 super chat, says, I think Rock is the head of the table, and he's certainly going to make that claim, and he could even say he is the damn table. You know, I saw that comment.
I want him to, and then Roman goes over him and then is officially the new, the head of the table when it's all said and done.
Rock and Roman Reigns goes babyface after that. That's what turns him back. He's humbled. He gets humbled.
Walter,
you're muted.
I was saying that about the humble, but it's like, to me, you got to do WrestleMania 40 because of Philadelphia. And then when they had that Rumble and that whole situation, it kind of all writes itself. It's like the stars are aligned right now. So wait a year. Like, I get what you're saying, but the way the year is like, it's almost like a missed opportunity. The stars are all aligned now.
Well, and true. And Walter, beating Roman, like Cody could beat Roman clean, right? That could still happen. And if it's a scenario like Aaron suggested, wouldn't some fans be pissed that, it had to take interference and The Rock coming out to help him for Cody to have his moment? So they do have to really sit down and figure this one out.
Not only that,
to pick the exact right scenario. You might upset a few people, but overall people will be satisfied of what happened and what's to come. They got to figure that one out.
Yeah, but not only that, Cody can win the title at a different event. It doesn't have to be the main event of Mania. Yeah, that's perfect and everything, but as long as the story is finished, who cares where he did it? Like, you can fight at a different place. You don't necessarily, that's us that's making it say it has to be WrestleMania.
Well, he just went out and said that if he's a failure if he doesn't walk out of WrestleMania with the title.
That should tell you that he's not winning it, because there is no money in Cody Rhodes finishing any story. There is no money in finishing the story. Like I said 3 or 4 weeks ago, finishing stories is not what a company that produces 185 hours of content a year does and is always selling the next event. They do not need to finish the story. Individual fans want the story finished. He does not need to finish this story anytime soon. And in fact, I think that finishing the story against The Rock would be 10 times bigger. You want to put this guy over as the face of WWE going forward. You don't put him over Roman, who's the face, who is known to all wrestling fans. You put him over to the guy that is the biggest celebrity in Hollywood, or has been at least at some points in time. I think that there's no way that The Rock is coming back to do this and give only one guy the rub. There are going to be lots of people getting the rub from The Rock. He just started off doing a whole 20-minute bit with Jinder from the frickin' Hall. I mean, listen, he's out there to put over as many people as he can and get as many people exposed as he can. I guarantee you're going to be seeing Rock and Cody going to be a buddy story. Cody's going to need The Rock's help to finish the story. And then guess what? The Rock takes the story from him. And The Rock beats Roman. And then Cody's going to have to go beat the darn Rock. And then he's going to get put over as the guy that beat The Rock. 1, 2, 3. And there's your story.
And Rhonda, with Cody saying what he did, what Aaron just pointed out, how he's a failure if he doesn't do it at Mania. Maybe Cody has to wait till WrestleMania 41. Maybe last night, the Punk and Cody stuff is because if Rollins isn't ready, maybe Cody and Punk are going to be a program for Mania.
That's almost obvious. You saw
and then is the plan B, and then they can do Rock and Roman right now while it's hot, while it's, like Aaron always said, strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah, it
know.
looked like they were going to start making out.
Put the title on The Rock. The Rock is back for a 1-year engagement. Listen, he doesn't need to wrestle more than 4, 5 times in the course of the year. You have him buddy up with Cody, and then you have the inevitable split, and then you've got Rock versus Cody, where because he's already put Roman Reigns over by having him in the damn movies with them, the Hobbs and whatever movie.
Shaw. And a Samoan fight on a Samoan island.
Yeah. So, listen, he's already put his cousin over. He's going to give him the big match. But what's bigger than the big match that's obvious? The next thing is the next guy that's going to take over as the face of the WWE for 2 to 3 years, do all these Make-A-Wish and all this stuff. All these kids that want to see Cody in the hospital, they want to see the guy that beat The Rock. You know what I mean? There's a lot more going on here. And yes, Punk versus Cody. I mean, when they touch noses, that's how you know it's on.
Yeah. Aaron, what else?
Well, Walter,
did anybody?
Walter.
I wanted to bounce off of what Virtue said. The whole between Cody and CM Punk. If you don't think that he purposely had to say that it was him that might interrupt the story, it's because we can insinuate that The Rock can also do that same thing. That's why Punk said, I think the way they said it was perfectly. He said, and that person's me. Had he not said that, now you would have opened it all up to The Rock could have done the same thing and be the person that ruins the story.
Dude, do not leave it out on you. When you guys do the predictions Thursday night, do not rule out number 30 or 29 being Dwayne Johnson. With Cody and Punk in the ring, do not rule that out.
Oh, that'd be big. That'd be big. You see the moment. And then who do you have, out of curiosity, who do you have as number 4 in that mix? Do you have Gunter? No, he's already got his belt. I mean, who do you put in number 4 in that situation? Will you give it to LA Knight?
Jay Uso, just somebody. Yeah, I mean, there'll be somebody that's worthy. Jay Uso or
Jay Uso,
LA Knight.
No, but that's a big effing moment being in the ring with Cody, CM Punk, and The Rock. It's not just given to anyone. That's somebody that's got big things in their pipeline. So,
I mean, Brock Lesnar's a surprise.
I see Brock as more of a guy that comes in and spoils things and takes his spot. You know what I mean?
No, he might. Anything can happen.
I think they'll give it. My personal prediction: I think they give it to LA Knight. They have everybody cheering for LA Knight before he gets dumped.
Yeah, could happen.
Well, LA Knight's not going to be in the Rumble. He's in.
He could if they need bodies.
He's not. I'm sorry, that's my bad. Then I apologize.
But I mean, sometimes they pull double duty, so it is possible. Let's get to these super chats. Shanti, shout out to him. He said somebody mentioned Hawaii. He's in Hawaii, so that's why he sends that out. Shout out to Shanti over in Hawaii watching the NoDQ review. We appreciate it. Mr. Tito said WrestleMania 40 could be the greatest ever. Good God. And he's right about that. It's an exciting time. The Rumble is looking great. WrestleMania, a lot of possibilities here. And Matt brought up how apparently Vince still has the mustache, but he stopped dyeing it. Did you guys notice? I thought it looked like he had no mustache.
Maybe it's gray.
Yeah, it's possible.
That'd be weird with the black hair, with the darker hair. Aaron, Dr. Benedictine or whatever his name is, waste the Rock's big return match in the Rumble. That's a Royal Rumble match. You come out late throwing people over the top rope. Dude, you're never going to book wrestling.
Oh, jeez.
Jesus.
Agree.
He's been a troll all night in the chat.
He's been drinking too much of his Benzedrine.
Wow. That was something. Matt sent in a $2 super chat. Says corporate rock is back. Indeed,
Yeah.
he is.
Yeah.
The corporate.
Literally.
The
corporate
glasses are a
champion.
nice touch. I've never seen him in non-sunglasses. He's got the actual
Yeah,
readers.
he's embracing his new role. And Mr. Tito sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Tito. Thank you to everyone that super chatted. Tito said, amazing what Vince can accomplish when not micromanaging WWE's creative. Great at business, man. Absolutely. Vince has done a phenomenal job. Nick Khan is doing a great job, as well as Triple H. Like everybody's playing their role very well, and WWE is definitely thriving. And it's been an interesting day, and it's going to be an interesting weekend coming up, Virtue.
All right, that's all. We close. I mean, it went over longer than I thought for a couple topics, but let's go around and say our last words for the evening. So, Big G, I'll start with you.
Yeah. So, and if you still got my plugs, you can follow me at Big Baller G 1988 on TikTok. There you go. On Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it now, NoDQ _ Big Baller G, and on Insta, NoDQ _ Big Baller G 1988.
Good. Thanks for being on, Big G. I know you're happy to be here. And Mr. Reliable, although he was late, he still snuck on. Walter.
Yeah, so for me on the socials, you got the Cowfire Farm on Instagram, the X for Walter Alex Cruz, and my YouTube channel. More content coming. It's the Rage of Wrestling. And thanks for having me up here. I love the impromptu versions of the reviews, because big time news has to happen for this. So it's always good to be on these.
Thanks for being on. All right, Rhonda. You always stir the pot. It's great.
Hey, it's been fun today again. Today was a blast. So I woke up this morning and hey, it's better than Christmas morning when you wake up to news like that. Almost as good as a Jericho tweet. But you can find me at facebook.com/group/Ron Deshane with Up All Night with Ron Deshane. You can also find the Ron Deshane Facebook page, and soon to come, very, very, very shortly, merchforjerks.com. It's going to be sarcastic, nasty t-shirts, all about the wrestling business. Basically, you'll be able to get a Good Shit Pal t-shirt. You'll be able to get an NDA that looks like the NWO logo t-shirt, and lots more, and even including the CM Punk logo where he's jerking off. Excuse my French. Anyways.
Oh my god.
I hope I didn't. I hope I was trying to PG that one up. And maybe an Okada shirt.
Yeah, we can talk more about Okada again Sunday. Where will he go? We got it's literally a coin flip right now between WWE and AEW based on the rumors that we're hearing. So it'll be interesting. And WWE's on fire right now. So my rant that I had on Sunday night ain't looking too good, because WWE is, you never know what they can do right now. All right, Aaron.
Psycho Jet Black sent in $2. He said, crazy idea, Rock versus Roman as a Netflix movie. I mean, if there's another pandemic and they need to do a cinematic
like No Holds
match,
Barred, a remake of No Holds Barred with those two guys, but better.
Yeah.
But better.
A better version of it for sure.
Yes.
Thank you all for tuning in to this impromptu video. We will be back with the panel Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific to do the Royal Rumble predictions. Tune in for that. It's going to be a very interesting predictions video as we kick off the new predictions league for 2024. Follow Noah Foster at nfoster1916. He'll be doing the predictions like he does every year. Sign up to the league and get going with it right from the get-go over at Noah Foster's Twitter account, nfoster1916. That's all I got. Virtue, let's wrap it up.
And all I have in closing, obviously, x.com, formerly known as Twitter. Follow me if you dare at NoDQ _ Virtue. And if Okada has not signed on the dotted line yet for WWE, and he can still make a choice, Tony Khan is going to make him the highest paid wrestler in AEW if he chooses to revert course and go over there, because Tony Khan, seeing all this stuff go down, I'm telling you, he's going to scramble to try to make something happen. So it will be interesting.
Virtue, are you going to ever debate Hamp Connell? He asked about it.
Well, yeah, what were we supposed to debate about? I don't remember.
I forgot, but he said you guys were going to debate about something.
Did he send a tryout video to you yet? I can't remember.
Hap, send me a tryout video. Challenge Virtue. Do a video, challenge Virtue. Send it to nodqmisc@gmail.com, and maybe Virtue will respond.
And look, if Okada goes to WWE, I come on here and eat crow, which happens once every 4 years, right? 3 years maybe. If he goes to AEW, everybody, if you are sick of me now, just wait. I can actually get some stock out of Okada to torture each and every one of you who doubted me. So I have nothing to lose. I don't mind admitting I'm wrong, but if I'm right on this, I'm going to have a field day. But that is it. Go to nodq.com/merch as well. Pick up all the Virtue t-shirts, all the NoDQ t-shirts for Aaron, for Big G, for Walter, for Ron DeShane, and the whole NoDQ Galaxy and crew, Mr. Tito Collin, everybody. Good night. We'll see you on Sunday, I think, right?
That's right.
Sunday night at 8. Good night.